Hi guys, Jo here again, just giving an update on the surgery side of things. So on Wednesday I had my appointment with Dr. Michael Hatzifotis, the surgeon. All went well, so I do have a surgery date. It is the 14th of September was my surgery date, 2018. And so when I seen him, that was on Wednesday, the 30th of May. And so from here I have an appointment with a psychologist, so one of his team, and also an appointment with a dietitian. Now they are meant to be before the pre-op diet, but they've actually booked me in on the day that I start my pre-op diet. So the pre-op diet is 2 weeks of Optifast prior to the surgery, and the idea of that is to shrink your liver, obviously clean out your stomach so that you don't have any food in there, it's only liquids, and just to get you used to, I guess, what's going to happen after you have the surgery as well, because you're on 2 weeks of liquids after surgery as well. So after surgery you have a 6-week diet plan. First 2 weeks are liquid only, then you go on to 2 weeks of puree, and then 2 weeks of soft mash. So a little bit harder than the puree, but still softish, so that your stomach can heal. In that 6 weeks time, you've got, when you have your surgery, so they're cutting out, so I'm having the gastric sleeve done. They cut out 80 to 90% of your stomach, and you're left with a small sleeve that can hold about 200 mils of liquid. With that surgery, when they're doing it, they're actually using a staple / cutting tool. So what happens is that on the cutting tool there's a knife up the middle that is like a heat seal knife, and on either side is 3 rows of titanium staples. So one's stapling the stomach that's going to be removed, and the other one is stapling the stomach that's going to be left. Those titanium staples don't come out, they stay there forever, and your skin over that 6 weeks will start to grow and mesh with those staples. So that's why it's so important about what you eat after that surgery in that 6 weeks time. Otherwise you're not going to give your stomach enough time to heal, and it's not going to work. It'll leak, which could cause even more complications. What he said is, so long as I follow the diet that he gives and the instructions that he gives, then chances of complications are less than 1%. Some of the other complications that can come in that aren't part of the actual, like, no fault of diet or the surgeon, are reflux. So that's why they ask you when you have your initial appointment if you suffer from reflux, because if you do, they're most likely not going to do the gastric sleeve, they're going to do a bypass. Now the difference between the sleeve and the bypass is that the bypass, you still have your stomach in there, and it can be reversed. So the reason why they call it a bypass is because they're bypassing about 1 meter of your intestine. They join that intestine up to your new stomach, which is about the size of an egg, or a large egg. And the other part of your stomach that is still inside is not getting any food, so you can't fill it. All it's doing is just producing the secretions that it used to do, so the stomach acid, and then that's connected down to your intestine as usual. So that part doesn't change. So, and then with the part that they bypass with the intestine, that is connected up to your new stomach, and this other part of the intestine that they've basically chopped apart, they just connect it down. So it's not really like you're getting anything from the actual stomach, it's just there to produce what it used to do. But you can't fill it with food, you can't eat what you used to with that surgery either. But yeah, the main reason why they all go to that one over a sleeve, if you are eligible for a sleeve, is the reflux side of things. He also did mention to me that after having the surgery, somebody who doesn't have reflux or doesn't suffer from it too often may get it afterwards, and that's about between 5 to 10% of people, so not a lot of people. The chances of a leak, he mentioned to me, is 1 in 500 to 1 in 1,000. So again, so long as you've got a good surgeon who knows what they're doing, then you should be pretty okay. He went through a lot of different things with me, asking about like what types of food I eat now, what diets have I been on, do I have any other chronic health issues, which the only chronic health issue that I do suffer from is migraines. And one thing that he did mention to me there is that, like, because he asked, when does my migraines happen? And I said, most of the time they happen when I wake up in the morning. And he said, could it be that your body's in withdrawals? And I looked at him funny because I was like, I don't quite understand what you mean by that. And he said that it could be because you haven't had any sugar all night, your body's craving that sugar, and then so all it wants to do is eat sugar. And what happens is that it goes into withdrawals. As he mentioned, it's similar to a smoker that, you know, first thing in the morning, all they want is a smoke. Coffee drinker will do the same thing. They want a coffee in the morning. And it's because their body's craving it. So what he was saying was that the headache is associated with a withdrawal headache. Withdrawals. So it becomes a withdrawal headache, which feels like a migraine. So it sort of starts in the same position behind your eyes, you know, that sort of area. And you then start to get like the whole over the head feeling. It can make you ill and that. But he did ask, does it relieve itself when I do have some sugar? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So he was like, okay, you're probably most of the time having a migraine, but some of them might be a withdrawal as well. So, didn't really ask me too much about family history though. So, I guess that part doesn't really play a factor, but, yeah, I don't know why you didn't ask about that, but yeah, it did ask what type of foods I eat, what do I drink, do I take any other medication. And since the last video that I've done, I've also gotten the contraceptive implant, so that's supposed to help with the migraines as well, which so far since I've had it, I only had a migraine the day that I got it, but I think that was more a lot of other things that came into play, so like the anxiety of getting the needle, because I hate needles, so I get a lot of anxiousness about needles, and because it's a big long needle, it's about the size of a matchstick of what they're putting in there. I guess the anxiousness of that, the actual having the implant, I think I just got stressed out from it, so I don't think it was actually a migraine related to all of that. It just sort of escalated from there. My arm was quite swollen for that day, and also the next day. Probably about 2.5 days worth of my arm being quite swollen. Quite a big bruising as well, but it seems fine now, so that's fine. But in terms of everything so far, really good. So yeah, my surgery is booked in for the 14th of September at the Green Slopes Hospital. That's where he'll do the surgery. So I won't see him again until the day of my surgery. That's also the same day that I'll meet my anaesthetist as well. So I've got my quote for everything there. So for the surgeon by himself is the out-of-pocket cost. So this is what I have to pay outside of private health and also the Medicare rebates, is $3,800 with him, so $1,800 with him, and then around about $500 for the anaesthetist as well, so $4,300 in total. with the dietitian, the appointments with the dietitian are about $120 each time. I do receive some back from my health fund for that as well, and the appointments with the psychologist are about $120 as well, and again I get some back from my health fund for that as well. So in terms of the health fund and side of things, I won't be talking too much about that one because I do work for the health funder that I'm using, so it's a conflict of interest, so I can't actually speak about what company I'm using, but I can tell you that I am using the health fund. So that, and also for the out-of-pocket side of things, I am using my super for that one. So I have applied for the early release of super. So how you go about the early release of super is you need a form from your surgeon stating that it's on compassionate grounds for a medical illness or terminal illness that is not available in the public system, or not readily available in the public system. So they're the main criteria for it. The other thing as well is that you need to get that same form, so an identical form filled in by your GP. One thing I found out that it doesn't need to be your referring GP, because my referring GP is away for the next 5 to 6 weeks, and I was worried about that one because I was like, well, if I wait that 5 to 6 weeks and then you've got your 28 days to wait for Centrelink to get back to you, so DHS to get back to you about like your outcome, I was like, well, that's going to put me really close to the surgery date, and you need to have that outstanding amount paid at least 1 week before your surgery. So what they said is I can start the application now and then get that money and get it paid off as soon as possible. So you don't have to wait until that week before, you can just pay it off anytime before then. So, and then from there, once I get that approved, I'll pay all of that. It also covers the excess. If you do have an excess with your health fund, it covers that as well. So you have to put in a standard information statement from your health fund that states what level of cover you're on, and also the excess that has to be paid, because that gets reimbursed to you as well. So $4,800 in total I'll be getting back from the super. Now, the other thing with the super as well that a lot of people don't mention is that it can actually increase your income amount that you receive for the year, for the financial year. So take that into account as well, because obviously if you have a HECS debt or anything like that, that can increase what you have to pay back and so forth. So you know, just be wary of that, because you may end up with like tax debts and stuff like that. So pretty good to give the ATO a call as well and just find out, do you need to pay any extra tax throughout the year since you've received that money, so that way you don't get any tax bills. The super release does actually get taxed as well, so I believe what they do is they actually release the amount that you need plus a bit extra that gets taxed, so just so that way you don't lose out on what you're receiving. So bear all of those in mind as well. My next plan of attack is I'm going to be calling the dietitian, because I'm really worried that that appointment is booked on the day that I start my pre-op diet, which I understand is just OptiFast, but I don't know how much I need to take. So is it just 3 meals a day, or does she want me to add in other things in there, like because there's OptiFast bars and that as well? So do I add those in, or is it just the liquid, or is there anything extra that she wants me to take beforehand, like go onto a healthy diet beforehand, anything like that? So I need to find out that information. So I think I'll be actually giving her a call and seeing if I can book in just one appointment before that pre-op diet starts, or if I can move that appointment that has been booked in for that day to a different day. They tried to do it so that I would have the psychology appointment beforehand and then that appointment. But I mean, I don't care if I've got to go 2 different days. I can arrange that with work and and work around that, work back, or you know, just take a small amount of time off just to go for that through annual leave or whatever. So my surgeon said that the actual recovery time is a maximum of 6 weeks, but I can go back to work within the 2. Don't start driving till 1 week after the surgery. So the surgery is on the 14th of September, which is a Friday, so the next following Friday is when I can start driving again. But again, he said just what's best to do is just hop in the car, see if you can turn, like, and look over your shoulder and make sure that you can see without causing too much pain. And he said try and drive around the street first, so just your street, see how you go, and if you're okay, then you can you know, take a drive on the highway or something like that. So and then you can return to walking after 2 weeks. So he said just slowly walking, and then within the 6 weeks you can return back to normal exercise regime, so more strenuous exercise, running, so forth. So it is quite a big surgery. I've had my gallbladder out in the past, and I asked him about that, like in terms of, because that was done like I can never say this word properly, it's the keyhole surgery, but it's laparoscopic surgery. So yeah, so I asked him in terms of that, because it's the same, almost similar, like where they put the instruments. So I was asking in terms of like the recovery side of things, is it similar to that? And he said no, this one is a lot worse as far as the recovery. So because he said usually when you get your gallbladder out, you normally don't have vomiting unless you've got an issue with the anesthetic. So when you come back out from the anesthetic, some people get dizzy and vomit, which I did. So I'll probably do that again. He said the surgery itself takes about an hour to do, and you're in the recovery for about an hour or so as well, so 2 hours in total, and then you're back on the ward. He said an hour after you're back on the ward, he'll have you up and walking around, and every hour after that, walking around. The main reason for that is 1, to stop the blood clots, and 2, to move the gases around, because they fill your stomach with gas to make it easier to move around, and also it's going to help with the recovery from the anesthetic as well. So because even though you've woken up, the anesthetic's still in your body, so you need to move it around to get it out. So they're the main reasons why they get you up and walking around afterwards. So he showed me the plate size that I'd be eating after I can go back to a normal sized meal. He said I probably won't finish the whole side either, but yeah, so basically what he said it was about the size of this. Half of the plate will be just protein, and then there's about just over half of this side, so not probably about 3/4 of this side will be all like green vegetables and vegetables, and then this small little portion will be carbs, so potato, things like that. So you won't be eating a lot of carbs afterwards. So he said in terms of everything, when you can go back to eating normally, he said most people can go back to eating exactly what they were eating before. And I said, but what's the point of going back to eating what you were before? Because, you know, then there's no point to having this surgery done if that's what you're going to do. Obviously he said no more soft drinks, so no carbonated drinks, alcohol, anything like that, because, well, again, it's just sugar. All that's going to do is put me back to where I was, so what's the point of going back to that? And that's what I said to him. I said, I've looked into this surgery so long that I don't want to go back to where I was. I'm using this surgery as a tool, as it's meant to be, because the surgery alone, yes, you will lose weight with the surgery alone. Of course you will, because you're losing 80 to 90% of your stomach. However, it is you that is the one that changes the way that surgery is going to work. If you go back to eating what you were before and you go back to drinking what you were before, guess what? You're going to be back at day one, if not worse. So there's no point. And that's why I pushed, and to be honest, I didn't have to push very hard because he said I was going to see a psychologist. He has on his website optional for psychologists. However, it's not optional. He doesn't really give you a choice. He says we'll book you into one. Which is good, because I wanted to see a psychologist because I need to break my bad habits. I have a bad habit with food. I have a bad relationship with food. I need to break that habit. And if I don't break that habit, I am going to be back at day one, and I don't want to be there. Because I don't want to go through this surgery again. I don't want to be back at this size again. I want to be healthy, happy, everything, without needing to go back to where I was. So, and that's why I'm going to use this surgery as the tool it's meant to be. Because obviously, being a lighter size, I will be able to exercise easier. My knees won't hurt, my back won't hurt, so forth. Ankles won't hurt, feet won't hurt. Well, not as much anyway, because you're lighter, so easier for you to work out. I'll be able to breathe easier, you know, things like that. The other thing that he did mention to me, that he thinks that I may have a mild form of sleep apnea, because he asked about that one. He asked if I've had a sleep test done before, and I said I had. And he asked, was it done at home or was it done in hospital? And I said it was done at home. So they gave me the little device, and I stuck the little things on me and had the little nose thing in, and it was monitoring me all night. I had a little thing on my finger as well. And I had the most shocking night's sleep that I've ever had with that thing. So I was actually surprised that it didn't say anything. And when I told him that, he was like, yep, because the machine itself probably has gotten confused between you actually waking up throughout the night and the, I guess, when you're snoring and you wake yourself up from snoring and you choke or whatever. So the actual stopping breathing from the sleep apnea. And he said, so I dare say you probably have a mild form of sleep apnea, but doing that at home, they don't have the people monitoring you to see how you went. Because when they monitor you, they can tell you the difference between when you've actually woken up to when you've been woken up because you've stopped breathing. So they can see all of that. So that was interesting as well. Another thing that he also found out as well, which I've never been told, is that I have a mild form of a heart arrhythmia as well. So I need to get something done that's not usually done for other people that have this surgery unless they've got something like this, which is an ECG and an echocardiograph. So I've got that booked in for the 18th of June. So yeah, that will be interesting. So the whole process of that one, when I called them up, was going to take about 40 minutes. So one's about 30 minutes long, so that's the echocardiograph. The other one takes about 10 minutes, which is the ECG. So all up about 40 minutes. So I've done that before work, so I'll go to that, then come into work. Now, yes, that is covered by Medicare because it's an outpatient. However, for me, because my surgeon has bulk bill clients with that, then I don't pay anything. It'll all go through Medicare, so that's great because they're quite expensive. The other thing I need to do as well, 1 week out before my surgery, is a chest x-ray. and a blood test. So the blood test is just a full workup just to see where everything's sitting. And I guess the reason why they do that as well is because they want to see what your levels were like before you had the surgery, and then I guess in about 3 to 6 months they'll get you to do another lot of blood tests so they can see where your vitamins are sitting, make sure everything's okay. So I also had to do my actual admission for the hospital myself, so that was quite a simple process. It was all done online. You just had to create an account. Took about 30 to 40 minutes to fill in the forms, and those forms asked about the family history. They ask if you've been into that hospital before, anything like that. And I also got a little form in the pack that they gave me at the surgeon's office as well, which was to tell me about like the actual hospital admission itself. So what to bring, what not to bring, so forth. So what to bring is obviously your clothes, things like that. So sleepwear for the amount of days that you're there, you know, your underwear, all that sort of stuff. So I think other things that said to bring was any x-rays, blood tests, anything like that, any of those results. So I'll be taking obviously the results of my ECG and echocardiograph. If they give them to me, they may just send them straight on to the surgeon. My x-rays and my blood tests, again, the blood tests they may send through to the surgeon themselves. They'll probably send the x-rays as well, but I'll take the physical copies of the x-rays as well so you can have a look over them. Other things it said to take was obviously enough money to pay for your excess, because that one's paid direct to the hospital on the admission, and not to take things like your mobile phone, which I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. The only reason it doesn't state in there that it's because of any medical equipment or anything like that, is because people can steal it. No jewellery, don't wear makeup, no nail polish, and the nail polish part and the makeup part is due to safety when you're in the hospital, the theatre room, because obviously doing theatre they need to have it all sterilised and things like that, so they don't want any foreign bodies that aren't things that they can't control. So no makeup, no nail polish. The other reason why there's no nail polish as well, so no fake nails, no nail polish or anything like that, so they can actually put that monitor on your finger and it can read properly. If you've got nail polish on or you've got a fake nail or whatever on, it can't read it properly, can't get that reading correctly. So they need that, because if you want to be safe, then, you know, who cares about your nails? Get rid of them, get them done afterwards. Not hard to do. So that's why I've taken everything off now, and all I've got on now is just a nail hardener to try and bring my nails back to where they were, because, you know, wearing your fake nails for so long, it makes the nails underneath brittle. So that's it. Other things that happen after your surgery is that you will be on a multivitamin for the rest of your life. They do recommend the BN multivitamins, because they are actually designed for people who have had the weight loss surgery. So they're designed so that you will get enough nutrients in after you've had your surgery. So you'll be on those for the rest of your life. If you do end up with the reflux, they can give you a reflux tablet for that you again take once a day for the rest of your life. What he did say was that if the reflux gets too bad, like I'm getting it once a day, twice a day, then that's when they can look at doing the bypass. So he said it's quite an easy, simple process to go from the sleeve to a bypass. So that was done there as well. The fee that he charged, the $3,800, is inclusive of the surgery and all follow-up appointments for the next 3 years. So that was pretty good as well. Obviously any further surgery, there would be extra costs involved with that. But if it's anything related to this surgery, hypothetically a leak, something like that, then if it's in this year, then I won't pay my excess again, but he will cover the surgery itself. But if it's next year, then I pay my excess again. That's the only difference there. He's given me the warning signs of what to look for a leak, which is chest pains, what's the other one, chest pains, fever, and he said you will know if it's a leak. He's like, because you will feel like you're having a heart attack. You'll get clammy, you'll be sweating, you'll have a fever, you'll have chest pains. He's like, it's pretty full on, you'll know. He's like, it won't just be a little niggling pain. It will be quite hefty because it's the leaking of the stomach acids into your body. And that's how you know. He keeps his patients in for 5 days. So 4 nights, 5 days. First 2 days he said, I'm just on the IV drip. After that is when he starts to give you the liquids. But before he does that, he gives you the dye so he can monitor what happens as it goes down and make sure, like, what he's looking for is that it's going down correctly, for starters. And the second part is to make sure that there is no leaks, because with that dye he'll be able to see if there's a leak. And from there then he'll get you on drinking normally, and so that's for the next 3 days that you're in hospital. But he's also monitoring to make sure that you're getting enough liquids in. So yeah, but from here it's the next part is my ECG and my echocardiograph, and then the booking with the psychologist and dietitian. But I will keep you posted on all of this. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to link them on my Instagram or on my YouTube here, so that I can get back to you and answer those. Also, if you do have any questions about me or my journey, the surgery, anything like that, feel free to link them down below as well, or on my Instagram, and I'll be getting back to them. So probably the next video I'll be doing is a get to know me. I know I sort of went through a little bit of that in the first video, but I'll do a proper get to know me. And if you want to know anything in particular, again, link them below and I'll get back to you. But anyway, thank you so much again for watching my video, and if you do like it, please hit the like button or the subscribe button so you can see more videos. Alright, bye.